Hi, I'm Susan Rutledge, and in this video, I'm responding to a request from a viewer to show how I made these fluffy clouds in Adobe Illustrator. This illustration is actually borrowed from one of my children's books, but the viewer saw it in a tutorial where I showed how to use the Layers panel. I'm going to give you just a little sneak preview of that. I'll come over to the Layers panel, open it up, and you can see how the various parts of the illustration are divided up into layers, and this helps me keep everything organized. I recommend that if you don't regularly use the Layers panel, that you check that tutorial out next. But we're going to move over to a different document, and I have the background part of the illustration, and I'll show you how I made the clouds. I'll zoom out a little bit so I have some working room. I'll use the keyboard shortcut Command minus and then get the ellipse tool, keyboard shortcut L, and I'm going to drag out some ellipses in this corner here. Get the selection tool, keyboard shortcut V, and you can do whatever shape you want, and you can always move these around later on. Now I've got a mask around the outside edge of my artboard, so I only see the parts of the objects that are actually on the artboard. And when I have the shape like I want it, I'll hold down the Shift key so I can select all of the different pieces, and then go to the Properties panel, and down in the Pathfinder area, I'm going to click to unite. Now we have this as just one piece, and I can move it around, I can change the size, I can do whatever I want, but it's all one piece now. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'll get the ellipse tool, keyboard shortcut L, drag out some ellipses, different sizes, different shapes to create my cloud. And you can move these around. Then I'll get the selection tool, keyboard shortcut V, hold down the Shift key and select all of the different pieces once again. Go over and click to unite that cloud. Now I created a much larger one for the center of the illustration, so I'll get the ellipse tool again, keyboard shortcut L, and begin dragging out some more ellipses, and use some little ones and some big ones. And again, there's not a right or wrong way, but you want to have a little variation in the shapes. Then I'll get the selection tool, keyboard shortcut V, hold down the Shift key to select multiple shapes at the same time. We'll get all of these gathered in here, and then click to unite. Now I want this cloud behind the back hills, so I'll go to the Layers panel. The last object I created was that large cloud, so it's at the top of the list. I'm going to drag it down underneath the back hills layer. Now that it's underneath the back hills in the Layers panel, it's going to be behind the back hills on the illustration. I'm going to move this around just a little bit, and I think I'd like to make a change here. I'll get the direct selection tool, keyboard shortcut A, and I'm going to grab this little anchor here and move it, and then I'll select all three of the clouds. I hold down the Shift key to select multiples, go to the Properties panel, and the first thing I'll do is change the opacity. That's in the Appearance area, and I can either click here and move the slider bar wherever I want the opacity, or I can highlight the number, and I'm going to type in 55% and press the Return key. And with the cloud still selected, I'll go up to Effect, down to Blur, and I'll choose Gaussian Blur, and I'm going to type in 38 pixels and say OK. Then I'll click on the artboard to deselect the clouds. Now I can continue to change the opacity or change that blur, but I'm going to go over to the Layers panel and just reveal all the other parts of the design, and I think that's going to work just fine. And that's really all there is to it. Change the opacity and then add a Gaussian blur. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video and learned something about creating clouds in Adobe Illustrator. I want to remind you about that Layers tutorial, and I also want to invite you to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my future tutorials, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye now.